Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. Last week, I managed to win another match from the Team Australia 2022 Australia Day tournament. With up to 3 days per move, this game took 2 months to complete. I didn't play the most accurately in this game, but made some fairly aggressive moves and blunders. What I found funny was that I managed to put my opponent's bishop in jail. We'll see this in the analysis of the game. Please enjoy! So let's have a quick start with the review. And as you can see, chess.com's algorithm, I played okay, I suppose, about 79%, opponent around 67, 68%. And the game went to and fro. I had a sort of early lead, pretty much lost it, but then managed to gain it back. When we both had sort of a mix of some good moves and some inaccurate moves as well. Let's move on now to the analysis. So in the first match I had with my opponent in this tournament, I played with black pieces. They played e4, I played e5, knight f3, knight c6, and interesting, d4. So what basically seemed like a scotch. But then, with the bishop to b5. So basically like a Ruy Lopez. So played the Berlin defense with the other knight to f6. Opponent played knight bd2. So I was already completely sort of out of expectation here. So this is an unusual sort of move order, I think. I decided to play bishop b4, given that I've got a pawn here now, and also potentially pinning that knight to the king. Pawn forward, which I was pretty sure was a mistake, because captures, and here I've got a nice sort of potential position. Again, unexpected. Opponent did short castles, leaving their knight to hang. You can see sort of -5.5 already. So no reason that I shouldn't capture from what I can tell. Capture, whack that as well, given that I up a piece, and -5. So I'm here in a pretty good position. And that looks like it's hanging as well. Here I decide to, maybe kick the bishop first. They move there. I decide to capture. And now they play bishop f4. And at this point, I did realize I had a problem. Because I felt that I was a bit overextended. And, this potentially I thought was a problem as well. I decided to chase that bishop, which was the mistake. So I really should have stopped chasing and consolidate. And so I really did make a mistake here. Now, at this point, I move the knight to the wrong place. So I played knight back to f6, which was a problem because now that comes with check, and the issue is how am I going to block the check? At this point, I realized I was probably in a bad position, despite being a piece up. And I thought, what should I do? And I made a final decision that was probably better for me to block the check with the knight, allow the capture, and then lock the bishop in jail. I really like that. Actually, I had to admit, I thought maybe that wasn't the best move, but I kind of just like the geometry of it. And so that's what I did. Block, capture, so they were probably feeling pretty good about themselves. Pawn c6, and now that bishop is in jail. Stuck in the corner, nowhere to go. Here, obviously gone. Captures back. So I thought that this looked pretty good for me. I thought this was pretty good. Opponent plays queen d4, which ended up being a mistake according to Stockfish. Here I've now got some. I managed to now consolidate. So firstly, get the king out of the center, out of that potential check, and out of that pin for that knight. So that knight now has its mobility back. Opponent plays queen e3. I think potentially maybe looking at that sort of move here and also lining up for a battery here. However, I was unafraid because now I've got knight ed5, now attacking both pieces. What is the opponent going to do? So here they move queen e5, which was a good move. However, I'm not afraid of capturing. So even though, even though at this point, we're technically equal, that bishop is out of the game. Now, this bishop is also not really part of the game at the moment, but this bishop is definitely out of the game. That rook hasn't been developed yet. So I thought if I take out some of their aggressive, active pieces, I was probably going to be ahead. And I made that move always with the intention that I'll be willing to trade. So captures, they capture back, and I thought that was potentially fine. Now, knight d5, again, forcing the opponent to do something about their queen, so forcing them to make a move. Here, I decided to now play knight c6. Let's just get rid of that piece hanging about. Now, opponent plays rook e3, so that was a potential wasted move. So yes, they could have just straight up captured that, accepted that that bishop was otherwise lost. So I captured that bishop. The opponent is now going for the attack with a potential mate in one threat. But, I saw that, and I've got f5, blocking that checkmate. And again, a direct threat on the queen, can't even capture that pawn. So again, forcing them to make another queen move. So queen makes another move, and here I invite, let's trade queens. Okay, again, my queen wasn't super active, it was on defense duty. If I trade queens, then the opponent's only left with a rook pair, but I have a rook, knight, and bishop, and probably better pawns. I thought I should be doing well in that situation. They opt not to do that, but I am willing to trade. Forced to trade. And here, forcing the rook to make a move. So that was a good move, I think, by the opponent. I have to do something about that. Need to get that knight back into the game. So it was in the corner, need to make it active again. Opponent lines up their rooks for a battery, which is potentially good. So maybe looking at coming down here and, obviously captures, they end up capturing that bishop. So I need to do something about that, but I'm just in time. Just in time. Just in time. So they make the move, but the thing is, of course, I'm under no obligation to capture. And now, knight here, they have to move their rook, and I invite a trade. I invite a trade in rooks. That is good for me if we trade rooks. So they pull it back, choose not to do it. That's fine. I decide to, wasn't too sure what to do, so I just pushed a pawn forward here. They move a pawn forward, and I thought, that's okay. Let's gobble up pawns. That just opens things up for the king. They try to avoid, capture again with check. And now, the defense around the king is also damaged. Bishop to d7. So now there's an extra defender. So I can now potentially move that rook out of the way. So opponent, good move, targeting that pawn, but I'm just in time. What are you going to do? Are we going to trade? I want to trade. Better evacuate that rook out of the way. So here I was fairly sure I was in a very strong position. Again, let's try to get the rook active. Opponent, shuffling rooks a bit, but doesn't do a lot of good. Straight up hanging pawn, so captures. And here I think they just made a one move blunder, captures, and things looking very grim for the opponent now. So captures. That was a mistake because now I can force, skewer that rook, and I force a rook trade. Yep. And in this position, the opponent opted to resign because that last piece is gone. If they move forward, knight here, and then, whether they stay there or move forward, that last pawn is gone. One of these pawns is definitely promoting. Opponent opted to resign, but a very interesting game. GG. One of the interesting things about losing rooks early in the game is that the loss is often not felt. The rook wasn't participating anyway. In this game, an earlier blunder with my knight resulted in my opponent sniping my rook with their bishop. Although I suspected that with optimal play that this was probably bad for me, closing the door on the bishop with my pawn, locking it into the corner, meant that I had trapped one of my opponent's most active pieces. I thought that this was a worthwhile trade and managed to convert. A few tricky knight moves later, I was back ahead and up a full piece. I hope you found this video interesting, and thanks for watching.